If I had simply asked Brad to think about his intention, the likelihood of him carrying it out is almost nil. But by having Brad write it, read it, tape it, listen to it, and watch himself saying it on video, we have increased the power of his intention exponentially. More on this later in the series, but suffice it to say right here that these activities fire off millions of additional neurons in the brain. We are literally recruiting massive areas in the brain dedicated to audio and visual processing and putting them to work in the effort of carrying out the intention. And in the game of carrying out intentions, we want all the firepower we can commandeer in the brain to get the job done. Did Brad think it was weird to audio tape and videotape himself reciting his detailed intention and then watch it? Of course he did. Everyone does at first. But once we get past the weirdness, the most frequent comment I get from my clients is, "Wow, that is powerful," which is usually followed by, "Why has no one ever told me about this?" Nobody ever told me either. I discovered it quite by accident myself. I was actually videotaping myself for a TED Talk that I gave in 2012, just to make sure I was doing it the way I wanted to. And if you're interested in seeing that talk, there's a link to it on my homepage. It was probably my very first selfie on my newly acquired iPhone. Since the practice tape was on my phone, I soon discovered, rather serendipitously, that I could literally practice my talk anywhere that I had an extra 10 minutes and a set of earbuds. Not only did I learn the talk 10 times faster than I'd ever learned it before, but my own anxiety about the talk was dropping with each passing view. I could feel things in my brain literally changing. The light bulb went off in my head, and that was all she wrote. I've been developing the technique, which I call CAVT, Cognitive Audiovisual Technique, and teaching it to my clients ever since. That was truly my aha moment. If you're skeptical, I've got 2 words for you. Try it. You will be amazed. Here is Brad's intention, performed by me, of course, because remember, Brad does not really exist. My intention is to drink no more than 1 beer per hour, which I will control by only opening a beer at the top of the hour. If I'm encouraged by my friends to drink more than that, I will respond with, "I'm just not feeling it right now. I think I better take it slow." If I'm asked if I am ready for another beer and it's not yet the top of the hour, I will grab my beer, shake it, and respond, I'm still working on it. When the top of the hour does arrive, I will grab a beer and ask my buddies if they're ready for one. I will check my breath alcohol level 30 minutes after my last beer and will not get behind the wheel until it is well below 0.04. I will track my thinking throughout the day and record any intention-killing thoughts that I catch myself thinking. The next step, then, is to put the intention into play. It was Monday, and Brad had a tea time that Saturday morning. I instructed Brad to read, listen, and watch his taped intention at least 10 times per day. Since his taped intention is only about 1 minute long, this amounts to about 10 minutes of practice a day, a pretty small price to pay for becoming a responsible drinker. On Saturday, I instructed Brad to watch his intention an additional 5 times when he arrived at the golf course in the morning. 5 minutes of highly focused attention on his intention right before carrying it out. All told, this would amount to less than an hour of mental preparation for his round of golf. Brad himself commented that he was planning on spending at least an hour on the driving range between now and Saturday, so yeah, it really wasn't an unreasonable amount of time to spend on his mental preparation. The next step in executing this effort will happen when Brad is actually on the golf course, attempting to carry out his intention. I predicted to Brad that once he got on the golf course, I was sure he was going to experience his brain launching some thoughts that would be aimed at abandoning his intention. I refer to these thoughts as intention-killing thoughts. I predicted he might hear himself thinking thoughts like, "Who cares? Everyone else is doing it. I can have a few extra beers today. I'll just make up for it next week. I can start this again on Monday. I didn't want Brad to simply listen for these thoughts. I wanted him to write them down, or in this case, text them into his phone while they were occurring. The brain has a funny way of concealing these intention-killing thoughts when they're not being used. To try and remember them later is most times futile. We have to capture these thoughts in the moment, while they're occurring in real time, to actually nail them down. The technical term for this activity is metacognition, literally interpreted, thinking about our thinking. I asked Brad what thoughts he thought he might find himself thinking that would go in this category of intention-killing thoughts. His answer was classic. I don't know. I never really thought about it. Of course he hasn't thought about it. Most people haven't. I then went on to tell Brad that whatever happened on Saturday, it was going to be useful. Either he was going to carry out his intention or he wasn't, right? If he carried out his intention, great, a big win. If he did not, then I absolutely want to know what thoughts occurred in his head to blow right past his intention. Or another way of thinking about this is permission-giving thoughts. If Brad doesn't carry out his intention, what thoughts gave him permission to do what he had intended to not do? And so with that, I sent Brad out the door to practice getting ready for Saturday. I encouraged him to keep track of how many times he watched the tape and to keep track of all the thoughts he heard popping up along the way. Brad was not too keen on making a videotape of himself reciting his intention, but he agreed to do it anyway. Brad's parting comment as he walked out the door was, "This is totally not what I expected, but I'm kind of excited about giving it a try." And oh, by the way, where did you say you got that breathalyzer again? Walgreens, $50.